Hi everybody, happy Monday and welcome to our video today. We are working on a fun stitch along where we are learning all sorts of embroidery stitches. And even if you know them and you're a pro, you can stitch along with us. We're making this really fun embroidered bouquet floral sampler. And I always say those words in the wrong order or different orders, but you get the gist of it. It's a floral bouquet, it's a sampler. We're learning all the things. So today we are talking about satin stitches, and satin stitches are gorgeous. They are one of my favorite things to stitch because they're just one of those big eye catchers that comes along in embroidery. So that these little leaves right here on this one are what we're doing satin stitching with, but you can use satin stitching for a ton of things. You can use them for big florals, you can use them for fill areas on any kind of an element, anytime you want the entire area covered with straight, even stitches. This is perfect for it. And we're going to talk about a little bit of the difference between a long and short stitch and a satin stitch. We're going to actually use a combination of those two stitches on this flower here. So if you have a giant area, you probably don't want to use satin stitches because then it's really hard to get everything laying flat and looking nice. But if you have a medium to smallish area and you want to fill the entire thing with stitches, satin stitches is your jam. So today we are going to work on those and it's going to be super fun, and I hope you guys have a great time with it. As always, I will be answering questions, so if there's something you need me to show you again, or if you want to see something closer up as we're sewing live, just make sure you hop on that comment section and say hi. So let's see who's here. Oh, hi everybody. So over on Facebook, my goodness, we've got a crowd already. We have Melinda, we have Allison, Nanny from I don't know how to say that, Kona, Hawaii. That sounds beautiful. Melinda's here, Dawn, hi Dawn, Jesse's here, Rosemary's here. It's snowy in Michigan. I'm very sorry about that, Rosemary. I wish that you had a lovely sunny day. We have a mediumly sunny day and it's like 50, so that feels crazy warm compared to what it's been, but I'm not loving this winter thing. I think I might have complained about this a bit last year too. It's a failing. I apologize. Hi Janice, you're in Nova Scotia. Hi Carrie. And over on YouTube we have Kimberly Dawn, hi. And Dolores is here, Dawn is here, Sharon, Pamela, Leslie, Diana, Katarina, Anne is here. Hi everybody. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here and I hope you have a lot of fun with this. So as I said, we are stitching through this cute hoop. I started the first week in this series by giving away the pattern. This is a free pattern so you can pick it up. That's linked in today's video description. And we talked all about transferring a design and how several different ways for transferring an embroidery design onto different fabrics. So there's a video for that. And then last week we talked about back stitching, which are on this project all the straight lines of all the stems of the florals, let's put it that way. And there's a whole video on that where I did talk about all the ways you can use back stitching. So that's really fun. In today's video description is a link to the blog post on satin stitching, and in there is a little illustration that I made to show you how to do it if you just want to have kind of a visual of it without watching the whole video. And there are also some examples of how to use satin stitching, and then of course verbal instructions. So if there's something there that helps you, you might check that out as well. And then of course I always post embed the videos from YouTube in those blog posts. So if you're ever watching later or you're not sure where to find a video, go search on the blog and it'll probably be in that post. So just a little heads up for you. I also have a few supplies linked in today's description. So I have Fat Quarter Shop got in the Riley Blake linen. So I have a link for that for you if you're wanting to make projects with linen, and you can use that for embroidery or apparel or quilting. I've made quilts out of it too, and it's just gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. I also like that it's 60 inches wide, so you feel like you're getting like a ton more fabric. It's really fun. So there's multiple colors I'm using. So this is the Riley Blake linen in natural. I am using the blush pink here, and I don't know, it's kind of washing out on the screen. but you can see there's a difference in color. I don't know if you're going to even be able to tell that's pink. It's pink, trust me. It's a very pale pink, but it is pink. They also have an aqua, a snow white, I think it's called. It's more of, not a natural, it's more of like a very light cream. They have a couple shades of gray, and I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm not sure. So anyway, check those out. I also have the needles that I'm using. I've kind of converted over to using Lori Holt's embroidery needles, and she calls them nifty needles. And the thing that I love about them is that the ends with the eye are coated in blue. So one, it makes it very easy to see which end you're going to thread, and there's a nice variety in the embroidery needle pack of thinner needles with smaller eyes and bigger needles. They're all embroidery needles. I tend to gravitate towards a thicker needle with a bigger eye. I don't like fighting to thread a needle. So check those out. Those are linked in the video description as well. And I have linked to Fat Quarter Shop for those because, one, it's a fabulous shop. You guys know I love them, and it's an easy place to find everything. But search around or ask your local shop. If you have a local shop, they'll probably have something similar or be willing to bring in something for you if you're interested in the product. So, and that is all the interesting things I have to say today. All done. Video's done. No, just kidding. All right. Hey, Michelle. Glad you're here. It's holiday time. What holiday, Michelle? That sounds lovely. Dawn, I love the natural linen. It's so beautiful. Lisa's here. And Dawn, oh, let's see who we have. I missed Harley Girl. Is that Marie? Hi, Marie. Oh, yes, it says Marie right there. And Ramona, hi, everybody. Oh, so fun. Okay, so let's talk about giveaways. Every week I do a little giveaway for you guys. It's just my way of saying thank you for tuning in. And it's really easy to enter. All you have to do is leave a comment on the video, and you can do that whether you are watching live or whether you are watching later in the week. And so last week's video had a fun giveaway. I had 2 5-inch stackers of Hush Hush, which is Riley Blake's low volume. Sorry, brain just went bye-bye for a minute. Low volume, and this is such a great collection, you guys. It's a compilation collection, so multiple designers. There are 21 different designers that joined together to make this collection. So you get 2 of each print in each stacker. So there's 42 pieces in each, 2 of each print, if that makes sense. So it's really fun. These are great for background fabrics. These would also be really cute if you were doing small embroidery projects, like in a 3-inch hoop. You could use the fabrics in this for a really interesting background on an embroidery project. So keep that in mind when you are considering fabrics to use for backgrounds. It doesn't have to be a solid. It can be something that has a little bit of texture, a little tiny bit of a print, nothing so much that it takes away from the design, but that way you can have a little bit of interest there. Now, the only option, the only alternative to that is if you are trying to highlight a fabric. So if you have a floral in a design that you particularly love, I love to take a fabric and use that as an inspiration for embroidery. So maybe it's got big round flower circles with big round centers. I love to fill the elements with stitches, so you can take those round centers and fill them with French knots. Or if you have a certain petal of a flower that you like, just fill in that area with embroidery. So don't let it be just that you have to do specific patterns when you're doing your stitching. Grab those florals that you love and add texture to them, or make them kind of a 3D look. So there's a little spiel for you. And so in addition to the Hush Hush, I have a really cute little ruler pal. These are super handy. You just put your rulers in the groove and it holds them on your work table, and they've got little feet so they're not sliding around. I love to put my smaller use all the time rulers in these, and I keep them right by my cutting mat. So, and then I also have a package of my cat head pins for you guys. These are so cute. They're little aqua cat head pins, and I just even love the packaging. It's got this really great design. So our winner this week and I'm going to butcher your last name, but it is Lisa Rechkemer. Rechkemer. So, and I know Lisa's watching in Facebook, so congrats, Lisa. To claim your prize, just send me an email, bev@flamingotoes.com, with your address, and I will get this out to you this week. So yay for that. Congrats. Oh, I'm so glad you guys like the idea of stitching on florals. Yes. It's just a really fun way to take your love for a particular fabric collection up to an entirely different level. It's just so many options. I mean, think about like a really cute zipper bag where you've made the top of a floral or something like that, and the bottom like a more solid or a linen. Just embroider right onto that fabric, and you'll have all kinds of great textures, and you'll get the sheen from the thread. It's going to be beautiful. I think I might need to do that. Let's do that this spring. Hey, Teresa. And Mary's over on YouTube. Yay. Okay, so let's get stitching. All right. We are going to dive into our satin stitching here. Okay. So here is my progress on my little design. This is the blush pink, which you're just going to have to take my word for it. It's pink. And we are going to go through these pretty leaves, and now on this design they're pretty small, which is great for beginners. We're going to just fill this entire area with a satin stitch, and a satin stitch is basically, the gist of it is you're doing several long stitches in a row so that they form a satin look. You're not breaking it up with multiple lengths of stitches. So let me kind of show you the difference here. So here we have a satin stitch, and yes, they're all kind of different lengths. Let me zoom in on that because it's just the tiniest bit blurry. There we go. They're just shorter on the sides because that is how the leaf goes, but they are following the shape of the leaf, and you can see that they all lay pretty flat and they form that leaf shape. Okay, but the difference is you can see up here we're dealing with different lengths of stitches, and that's because this is a pretty big area to fill. Excuse me, I'm gonna choke. One sec. So it's hard to get all the way around up onto this flower and all the way up from here and have your stitches lay really flat like you can get on a leaf. And part of that is the shape of the flower itself. So you're going to just have to make a judgment call a little bit. And sometimes you can start stitching a satin stitch, and then if it feels like it's not going to lay right or look quite right, then start filling in the area with the long and short stitch. And we'll go over that when we get to that flower. But I just wanted to show you the difference is not everything is laying super flat and all in the same direction. There's more texture there. So we're going to be going over the satin stitch. Oh, also we have satin stitched leaves up here for this little French knot flower, whatever this flower is. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So go ahead and take your thread. You want to pick your thread color to match the same as the stem that the leaf is on. So in this case, I've done all of these as the dark green, so I'm going to use a darker green for my leaves. You want to have your leaf coordinate with your stem color. Otherwise it might look like it's kind of floating there. Now you can see I do have some lighter green in here. It was just a little bit harder to see. Okay, so we're going to start. So go ahead and thread your needles and knot the end of your floss with just that small little twist knot I showed you last week. So you can see my little knot there. So you're going to bring your needle up from back to front at the bottom corner of the leaf. Okay, so you can see where my needle is, right? At the bottom corner of the leaf. And we're going to bring the thread all the way through from back to front, and I'm just going to take a short stitch right here. And this is my method for doing leaves. If you have another method, please feel free to share it or to do it the way that you love to do it, but I'm just going to show you kind of how I do it. And this is the same whether the leaf is big or small. I'm going to talk about the difference in that a little bit here. But for now, we're just going to take a little straight stitch right here at the bottom edge of our leaf. Okay? So then this is just my method for getting a nice curve in the bottom. You can see, I'm going to come in here. You can see that the pattern sort of still does a curve here, but my straight line isn't following that curve because it's a straight line. So it's, let me tighten up that thread just a little bit if I can grab it. So you can see how it looks kind of, it's a little bit hard to tell, but it's more visible on a larger leaf if you are just doing that straight line. So in order to get the curve of the bottom of the leaf, I bring my needle back up from back to front above that stitch, and I kind of push down with my needle and make a stitch right about in here to make that curve. And putting my needle in there sort of makes that thread lie in a curve. Can you see how I did that? Can you see that my stitching now sort of follows where the bottom of that leaf is? Okay, so I like to fill in the two bottom sides of my leaf first. So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did there. I'm going to come up and go down. And it doesn't matter which direction you go, whether you're starting at the bottom or you're going to start at the top. As long as the stitching is nice and straight, you are fine. Let's see, Diana and Ramona asked over on YouTube how many strands, and I'm using 3 strands of floss with this. So I did a straight stitch there. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm kind of pushing over my leaf first strand there, and I'm doing a curve there. Now it's not as noticeable on this one because it's running up against that stem. So that is how I fill in the bottom section of my leaf. So now I'm going to just start continuing through the strands of this, through filling this leaf. And the gist of a satin stitch is you are just going to put stitches next to each other, and you're going to fill in the entire area. I find it's a little bit easier to start up here and bring my stitching down, because then I can, if I need to, sort of pull those threads closer together. And you can work on that and feel like, you know, however it feels the most comfortable in your hand. So right now I'm kind of just going back and forth to fill in my sides evenly. I don't want too much on one side or the other, or else the leaf looks a little bit off center. So I'm just, which isn't a bad thing if that's what you want, I'm just trying to keep it sort of even. Now on a bigger leaf, I will kind of make sure that I have almost a seam right here in the center, and that gives you that vein of a leaf. And in fact, I'll show you guys on this one kind of how I do that. I didn't do it on the original here. There's not really a vein, but to just keep that vein there, don't kind of draw an imaginary line with your head down the center of the leaf about 1/3 of the way up, and don't cross to either side. And if it helps you when you're starting out to draw that line with a marking pen, go ahead and do that. But you can see I'm kind of forming both sides of my leaf there, and I do have a little white space in there. So I'm just going to fill in an extra stitch to kind of break that and make sure I've got that white space covered. So I'm going to zoom in even more here so you can see if I can get it that zoomy. No, it doesn't like it. There we go. I was too close. So you can see, let's see if I can shine it. This half of the stitches stops in the middle here. This half of the stitches stops here. So they're kind of going to form a V almost. So now I want to make sure that I have my top piece, my center, nice and even. So I'm going to take a stitch from the center of my leaf down to where my center of the stitching kind of stops. So that lets me know, okay, this is about the shape of my leaf, so I can fill in both sides now nice and even. So I've got my center line, and I'm just going to stitch, and I'm not going necessarily all the way down with these stitches because I don't really need to. I just need to fill in the open area. And as you do more stitching, you'll be able to tell sort of how long to make those stitches. If I made them all the exact same length, they would all sort of clump up at the bottom here, and there would be a huge, almost a hole where you would see all the stitches ending up. So I can see that this area is getting pretty full, so I don't need to go all the way down to that middle. I can take my stitch and go to about there, and it's starting to fill in. Sorry, I've got a little fuzz. Starting to fill in that side of my leaf really nicely. So I'm going to come in here. Oh, I have a pink fuzz. And then I'm going to go down to about there. So you can see, there we go, that it's filling in pretty nicely. Now I feel like my leaf's just a wee bit short on that side, so I'm going to go ahead and do an extra stitch. The beauty of a satin stitch is as long as your stitching follows the same direction as the others, you can kind of go over it and it'll be fine. You can stitch on top of other stitches. All that does is adds extra texture to your leaf, so it makes it even more 3D. So you can see there's our one side. Lisa asked over on Facebook, to blend colors, you could use a couple different strands of your greens, right, to get a variegated effect. Absolutely, Lisa, you could totally do that. There are a lot of really pretty variegated flosses out there as well. So if that's a look you're wanting to go for, and leaves are the perfect thing to stitch with that, definitely look at picking up a variegated floss. So now I'm going to go through the other side of my leaf, and I'm just going to fill in what I have open over here. So I'm just taking I'm following the line of my pattern and going down here and just filling in that other side. And you want to try and make sure your leaf looks nice and even. Now, unless you're wanting to have a very different shaped leaf, and then you're going to, you know, draw maybe a maple leaf isn't going to have these straight sides, or if you want your leaf, you know, leaves in nature are not very perfect. So if you want to make different points kind of longer than others, it's not going to look funny. But there is the leaf, and you can see now that the other part is filled in, you can really see where that vein, where I made that sort of vein in the center, how those stitches on either side sort of stop in the center. And this is a lot more visible when you're working with a bigger leaf that's, you know, maybe 1.5 inches or something like that. Diana asked over on YouTube, do I separate out each strand before putting into the needle? No, I do not. I just separate my floss into, if it's 3, into 2 groups with 3 each or something like that. I'll pull out just 2 strands. The only time I separate out a strand singly is if I am only using 1 strand of floss, and it's pretty rare for me to do that because it's very hard to see if you're just stitching with 1 strand. So I don't do that. I like that you can pretty much tell that it's still nice and even. You get a nice satin stitch look even if they haven't separated them out singly, so you shouldn't need to do that. Though if you really feel like you want to, go ahead. Okay, so now I'm going to switch over here to this leaf, and I'm just going to keep going a little bit. And if you guys have questions or want to see anything better, let me know. So I'm just following the same method, though I did start with the other side, but it doesn't matter which side of the leaf you start on. I'm just going to kind of make those 2 bottom stitches with the curve of the leaf. So I'm just doing that. The other reason I like to do this is it kind of helps anchor for me where the leaf ends, and when I'm doing my stitches, I don't like to have a bunch clumped down here at the bottom so that the bottom of the leaf looks kind of funny. And doing my stitches this way, where I'm kind of going back and forth between the two sides, allows me a little bit more control over where those stitches stop and start. So I'm just following up this leaf here, and I'm just going to kind of do that same little vein area where I'm taking short stitches and stopping them in the center. So you can see I've got them kind of down here at the bottom, and now I'm just moving up my invisible line down the center of my leaf so that it follows that sort of a vein. Ramona, my floss that I'm using is Aurifil, and DMC is a great floss, but I'm an Aurifil girl. So I'm just going to show you real quick. Aurifil is 6-strand floss, just like the others, but it comes on these great wooden spools, and you get a ton of it. So I think a DMC floss skein is 8 yards, and these are 18 yards. And so that's one of the other reasons that I love them. I have a boo-boo. One of the other reasons that I love them is I stitch a lot, and so I like being able to have 18 yards at one without, you know, having to worry about running out so much. I like the tidiness also of a wooden spool. So now I'm just going to keep going here with my other little leaf, and I'm going to do the same exact concept with the 2 small leaves that are up here on this little stem. So I won't really have time to show you every leaf today, but do you kind of get the gist of how we're just taking these nice straight stitches, we're laying them next to each other, and we're filling in an area with those straight stitches. I hope that's nice and clear. Cami, I love that it comes on a wooden spool too. They're also really great for crafting with if you love them afterwards. They make really cute. I have a tutorial for little fabric pumpkins, and they make a darling stem for a pumpkin. They also would be very cute ornaments if you wrapped a little strip of your favorite fabric around the spool and then hung it from a pretty ribbon. How cute would that be on a little tree in a sewing room, having all those little wooden spools decorated with fabric? I think that would be super cute. Now I'm thinking I might need a special tree in my sewing room next year. Next Christmas. That would be so fun. You could do the same thing if you wanted to have a little collection like in a glass jar wrapped with fabric, or with a specific yarn, you know, in colors that match your house. That would be really cute too. So fun options for reusing those wooden spools. So I'm just filling in the rest of this here little leaf. I did my center line and then filled in that side. And now I am filling in the right side with just nice straight stitches as I go down to the center here. And it's just kind of relaxing. Embroidery is one of my favorite things to do with just, you know, in the evenings. It allows me to still be making something because I just feel much more comfortable when my hands are busy. But this lets me get out of my studio and get in the house with everybody else. This feels a little funky down here, so I'm just going to thicken up this area down here. You can see, I don't know if you can see, the stitches are just lying a little bit funny, so I'm just going to fill in the bottom of my leaf a little bit. And you can see that satin stitching is kind of forgiving that way, how it allows you to kind of cover up stitches that look a little bit funny. There, that looks a little bit nicer. There, so now we have 2 cute little leaves on our bouquet. And we are eventually going to do satin stitching down on this section right here to form almost a ribbon. And you can go ahead and do that as soon as you finish all your back stitching and your satin stitching, or you can wait and do it when you pull out the cream colored thread. So it's entirely up to you. You can do it now. This is a satin stitch, but it's just stitches in a row, kind of almost so it looks like they're wrapped around those stems. So same exact concept, just in a straight little row. So the other thing I will mention is that normally when I am stitching like this, I don't stitch all my back stitches, then go through and stitch all my satin stitches. I more go through the elements by color. So if I'm stitching this leaf stem and I know that it's all going to be dark green and this leaf is going to be dark green, sorry, there we go, then I will go ahead and back stitch up to this leaf, satin stitch the leaf, and then back stitch the rest of the way up. Same with this little guy. Normally I would satin or back stitch all the way up to the end and then start doing my lazy daisy stitches as I go back down and kind of knot it off here. So you don't have to cut your thread, knot it and then go on to the next stem. You can do the elements as long as they're the same color as you get to them on the design. I don't do a lot of traveling with embroidery because I don't want my threads to show from the back side. So like I wouldn't travel from here to here, but on something like this I did go ahead and travel because it's just going over the stitches that are pretty thick there anyway. So use your judgment on that as far as how much you're going to travel on the back side. So I'm going to show you really quick knotting this off. This is how I always knot off my thread, is I'll just take a small stitch through the back side of my threads. I'm not going through to the front, and then when there's a little loop of thread left, I just bring my needle into my loop and then just kind of wrap it through a couple times and pull, and that forms a little knot. If it doesn't seem like it's knotted enough, you can do that twice and just kind of pull it through again and then just clip it off. And it's really easy to finish off your threads. Now if you are putting this is going to stay in the hoop. If you are going to put this flat in a design where you're not going to use batting or anything like that, you might want to weave in your ends or make your knots extra small. You don't want the texture of the knots on the back side to stick up or cause bumps, on the back side of your fabric, like with cross stitch, how we don't knot on the back of a cross stitch project if it's going to be framed. Now if this is going to sit on batting, or your project is going to sit on batting, I don't recommend putting this project in a quilt or anything that would be washed because of these woven roses, and we'll talk about that week when we do those. This can have knots on the back because the hoop is there and it's going to stay in the hoop, so there's no way they'll be seen, so it makes it nice and easy. Also, don't forget to grab a cute needle minder. I have a ton of these in my shop. These little guys that are brand new for Enchanted Meadow will be in the shop on Monday, so that's super exciting. Look for that, and there'll be a little sale in the shop, so we'll talk about that next week. Okay, so we've done back stitching, we've done satin stitching. Next week we are going to talk about lazy daisy stitches. So let me transfer this out so you can see what we're doing here. So all these little leaves on this greenery are lazy daisy stitches, and all of these little flowers are lazy daisies. So we're going to talk about how to do those next week, and it's going to be super fun. I love a lazy daisy stitch. They're really fun and easy to do. So that is the plan for next week. We will be our regular video Monday, and let's see what else news. Okay, so if you were sewing along on the RBD block challenge, last week was the autumn, what was it called? Autumn leaf block. And then this week is a bye week, so this is a catch-up week, and so there is no block release this week, and then we'll be back to it next Monday. So it's always the first 3 Tuesdays of every month, and then the rest of the Tuesdays of the month are catch-up weeks. So if you haven't heard anything about it, search RBD Block Challenge on my blog, and join in. It is so fun. We are having a blast. So we're going to have a really cute block next week. I can't wait for you to see it. All right, I hope you guys have a fabulous week. Get stitching. Show your photos off if you are in the Facebook group. We would love to see your cute little projects. I've seen a couple of you sharing your back stitches, and I can't wait to see your satin stitching as you go. So I hope you have fun, and don't forget to download the pattern. It's free on the blog. And if you want to enter this week's giveaway, oh wait, I didn't even tell you what this week's giveaway was. You guys, you're supposed to keep me on task. All right, so I am an Aurifil designer, and so a couple weeks ago I gave away my newest box, which is this colorful vintage, and there are 10 spools of floss in there. That's what I'm using for the project that we're making. This was my first Aurifil box. It's called Vintage Stitching, and in here there are, can I open this without breaking it? The box has changed, so they used to be this way with the kind of tab lip, but now they're sealed. So there are 7 strands of embroidery floss, or 7 spools of embroidery floss in here, and 3 spools of 50 weight that you can use with your sewing machine. So it's a really fun, colorful palette, and I thought you guys might like this. I have a lot of projects that use this palette, and it's really just bright and fun. So I have that box for you, and that's a $40 value. I have some really cute embroidery scissors. These are kind of like a pink ombre, and you guys know I love cute embroidery scissors. And then one of the new Enchanted Meadow needle minders. This is a cute little birdie on a tree stump with all sorts of little flowers on the tree stump. So that is this week's giveaway. To enter, all you need to do is leave a comment, and I will choose the winner next Monday. All right, that's it. I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks so much for stopping by. I will see you later.